Today's video, we're going to go in part 2 of the tips and tricks guide since the other one was going a little bit long. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. All right, so for our first tip here, it's going to be about magical mending. Now, this is a skill that you need to get your artisan up to level 27 to obtain. And if we come over to the smithing anvil, we can see our durability on a lot of these items is already kind of, degrading a little bit. But if you look at the requirements to repair these items, these requirements are a bit insane. So instead, all we can have to do actually is just drop them on the ground, open up magical mending, cast it, and it's actually going to fix our stuff without having to go and find those kind of resources. Now, it's not going to completely fix everything perfectly. It only repairs, I think, like 75% or something, but there's only a minute cooldown on this stuff. So if you are really low on the durability of whether it's weapons, tools, anything like that, it's pretty easy to just wait out that minute and then fully repair everything up. All right, so for my next tip, we're in the swamp, and now this place can be a little frustrating, especially if you start wading in the water. You're going to notice that certain areas you just can't get up no matter what you do. And honestly, my tip for this here is always to have Windstep available for you. It's just an easy way to get yourself out of these kind of situations. You'll notice that there's random cliffs, especially right here, you can't get out of. I mean, you can walk around and pretty much get around if you need to, but it can be a little bit frustrating. So just having Windstep to just kind of boost yourself out of these areas is a lifesaver. Now for my next tip is going to be about the teleporters. Now in my previous tips guide, I have told you that teleporters are pretty much amazing, and you've seen throughout my video guides that I always use these to get around. But one thing you may not know is if you open up your minimap, you're going to see that the teleporters are not there. We go back to the teleporters, you can see they're all here. What I definitely recommend is if you are going to do any kind of teleporter network, make sure to label them on your minimap for yourself. It can be a very frustrating, especially if you're in a higher end zone fighting some monsters. Oh, you're getting kind of destroyed. Maybe I need to get out, and you'll see that I have these little icons here to know where my teleporter areas are. Now you can label them from the minimap here. You do have to kind of be out of this screen where it shows the cost. But once you do, see, I can't right click here, but right here I can, and I'll just place these like this. And it's just a very simple way to do this, especially if you're just getting chased around. You can quickly throw up your minimap. No, I'm very close to one. And I mean, the maps are static, so eventually you're going to learn where all your teleporters are, but it's just a nice to have. Now for this next tip, I couldn't get a video version of this, unfortunately, but if your base is getting raided by whether it's the dragon or a wartime band that's just coming in to kind of destroy your base, and you just don't want to deal with them, all you have to do is actually simply teleport out to a different area. So if you're in Bramblemead Valley, you could go to Temple Woods, you could go to the swamp, you could go to the plains. All you need to do is just go here for about 30 seconds. And once you get back to your house, they should have disappeared by then. And it's just a nice, easy way to not have to deal with them right then. All right, moving on to our next set of tips, and that is going to be the fighting tips here. Now, I've seen multiple people post in forums and other videos saying how hard it is to fight enemies and things like that. And it is a little bit of a learning curve in this game. But one thing I will say is early on, magic is king. As you can see here with air runes, your third hit actually will stun enemies. And if you start running the armor sets that actually allow you to cast this stuff a little bit faster, as you can see, we have, stamina regen delays, magical crit chance, and magical conjuring time that are a little bit higher. This allows you to cast abilities a little bit faster. Now, once you are moving on a little bit further into the world, you will notice that magic kind of degrades a little bit and is not quite as good. But if you want to do this, it's definitely a great early game thing. And fire also, I think, has a stun with the meteor. It's again on the third hit, and then the fourth hit has a small delay as well. Now, the great thing with the air runes, though, is you can right-click and have another stun. So air has about, I think, 3 different stun points, which is great early game, especially when you're trying to learn how to manage your stamina, do dodge rolls, things of that nature. All right, so for my next tip in the fighting combat is dodge will negate all damage. So if you are just going to just sit here and spam and go through traps and stuff like that, you can just dodge roll right through anything. But this also means that if an enemy is attacking you and they're about to do a big hit, you can just simply dodge, even if you're right next to them, and it'll avoid all damage. So it is great to start to learn how to utilize your stamina, as I stated before. And you can just simply just dodge roll out of every enemy's attack or any kind of damage or AoE blast, things of that nature. So really try to focus on when you can do that, and then also not burning up all your stamina, because some enemies can actually chase you very, very quickly. All right, so for my next tip here, and that is, did you know that you can actually switch your runes or arrow types at will? Now, you can simply go up in here in your inventory and right click to switch them. We can switch our runes as well from air to fire. But did you know that we can actually drag these up here into our hotbar, both the arrows and the runes, and we can simply toggle between both of them, which is really, really cool. So we can just simply do this while we're fighting. Say we have these, you know, this lot of enemies, there's a lot of them, but all of a sudden we have a single target. We can switch over to air really quickly because it's so much more powerful. And it's the same thing with the bows. Here we'll just simply shoot. We're gonna toggle back over to a different arrow. And it's just a nice, easy way to keep flip-flopping. Now, my next tip is, we had learned about magic being pretty powerful and that we could stun enemies, but the bow actually can stun enemies too. With just a simple attack, especially things like rats or wolves or that sort, you know, you can actually stun them with just a single shot. Now, this won't stun them for very long, as like wind spells will, but it is just an easy way to burn down enemies, especially if you have the full armor set, so that you can just keep shooting. Now for this next tip is going to be, you can actually use the wind spells to knock shields from the enemy from blocking with those shields. So it's a great way to use in combo with other weapons. Say you're not really wanting to use magic all that much and you want to use your bow, you can simply knock the shield back while they're blocking and then swap over to your bow to finish them off. All right, so my last tip here, and you've already heard me talk about it, is make sure that you are making armor sets, as this will make fighting way easier. So whether you're going to use range, melee, or magic, make a set based on that. And typically I like to run and have 2 sets at all times, but you're going to see that ranged attack stamina cost is lowered. Magic conjuring time is lowered. Crit chance after blocking is higher, things like that. But these stamina costs are what you're really looking for, or the stamina regen delays, and they are going to help you out tremendously. So make sure that if you're not already doing this, you know, you're building out these sets. All right, and that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you learned some more additional tips and tricks from these videos, and as always, like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next one.